Welcome to the session on data communication. Subject code is 18CS46 with 3 credits. So, what is data communication? Data communication and networking has changed the way we do business and the way we live. Business decisions have to be made every day in a very quicker mode. So data communication and networking has found their way not only through business but also personal communication. In the future slides, we are going to discuss a lot of concepts based on data communication. So the course objective, there are 4 course objectives as shown in the slide. And the course outcomes mapped to each COs for your reference. The textbook, the name of the textbook, it's mentioned. Kindly refer edition 2000, 5th edition 2013. In module 1, we will be talking about introduction about data communication, different network models and introduction to physical layer.
What is data communication? Data communication refers to exchange of data between source and a receiver via form of transmission medium such as wire, cables. Data communication is said to be local if communicating devices are in the same building or in similar restricted geographical area. The meaning of source and the receiver are very simple to understand. The device that transmits the data is known as source, and the device that receives the data is known as receiver. Data communication aims to transfer the data and maintenance of the data during the process, but actually it does not generate or create any new information. Data may be of any types like text, picture, audio, or videos. For communication to occur, the communicating device must be a part of communication system made up of combination of hardware, that is physical equipments, and software, that is programs. The effectiveness of data communication system depends upon basically four fundamental characteristics, that is delivery, accuracy, timeliness, and jitter. What is delivery? The system must deliver to the correct destination. Data must be received by intended device or user and only by the device or user. Accuracy, the system must deliver the data accurately. Data that has been altered in transmission and left uncorrected are unusable. Timeliness, the system must deliver data in a timely manner. Data delivered late are considered to be useless. In case of video or audio, timely delivery means delivering data as they are produced in the same order that they are produced and without significant delay. This kind of delivery is called as real-time transmission. The fourth one is jitter. Jitter refers to variation in the packet arrival. It is the uneven delay in the delivery of audio or video packets. For example, let us assume that a video packets are sent every 3D milliseconds. If some of the packets arrive with 3D milliseconds delay and other with a 4D milliseconds delay, an uneven quality in the video is the result of this particular system. In this slide, we will discuss about components of data communication. Basically, there are 5 components and those are message, sender, receiver, medium and protocol. So let's look at each one of these components in detail. Message. It is the information to be communicated. Popular forms of information would be text, picture, audio, etc. Text is converted into binary numbers. Binary numbers does not get converted. Image is converted into pixels and so on. The second component would be sender. It is the device which sends the data message. It can be computer, it can be a workstation, telephone handset, etc. The third one is receiver. It is a device which receives the data message. It also can be a computer, workstation, telephone handset, etc. The fourth one is the transmission medium. It is a physical path by which a message travels from sender to receiver. Some examples include twisted pair of wires, coaxial cables, radio waves, etc. And the last and the most important one is the protocol. It is a set of rules that governs the data communication. It represents an agreement between the communicating devices, that is the sender as well as the receiver. Without a protocol, two devices may be connected but may not communicate with each other. So the above diagram actually gives you an overall representation of all these five components. That is the sender, a medium, that is how it is being transmitted, and the receiver, and steps or the protocols which is used for sending the message. Data representation technique. Information today comes in different forms such as text, numbers, image, audio and video. So let us try to understand what is text. Text in data communication is represented by bit patterns, a sequence of zeros or ones. Different sets of bit patterns have been designed to represent text symbols. Each set is called a code, and the process of representing symbols is called as coding. Today, prevalent coding systems is called as Unicode, which uses 32 bits to represent a symbol or a character used in any language in the world. The American Standard Code for Information Interchange, that is ASCII, developed few decades ago by United States, now consists of first 127 characteristics in Unicode and is also referred to as basic Latin. The second one is numbers. Numbers are represented in bit patterns, and however a code such as ASCII is not used to represent numbers. The numbers is directly converted to binary numbers through a significant mathematical operations. Third one is image. Image also represented by bit patterns. It is the simplest form of image. It is in the simplest form. An image is composed of matrix of pixels, that is picture elements, where each pixel is a small dot. The size of the pixel depends upon the resolution. To give you an example, an image can be divided into 1000 pixels or even 10,000 pixels. In the second case, there are better representation of image, that is better resolution, but more memory is needed to store the image. After an image is divided into pixels, each pixel is assigned a bit pattern. The size and the value of the pattern depends upon the image. For an image made of only black and white, or for example, let's take in chessboard, here a bit pattern is enough to represent a pixel. If an image is not made up of pure white or pure black pixel, you can increase the size of the bit pattern to include grayscaling. For example, to show 4 level of grayscaling, you can use 2 bit pattern. A black pixel can be represented by 00 and a dark pixel can be represented by 0, 1, whereas light gray can be represented by 1, 0, as well as white pixel can be represented as 1, 1. The next one would be audio. Audio refers to recording or broadcasting of sound or music. Audio is by nature different from text or number or image. It is continuous in nature. Even when we use a microphone to change voice or music to an electric signal, we create a continuous signal. The next one would be video. Video refers to recording or broadcasting of pictures or movies. Video can either be produced as a continuous entity, for example, by a TV camera, or it can be a combination of images, each discrete entity arranged to convey the idea of an motion. Again, we can change the video to digital or analog in nature. Transmission mode refers to the mechanism of transferring data between two devices connected over a network. It is also called as communication mode. This mode directs the direction of flow of information. There are three types of transmission mode. They are simplex mode, half duplex and full duplex mode. Now let us try to understand what is simplex mode. In this type of transmission mode, data can be sent only in one direction. That is, communication is unidirectional in nature. We cannot send a message back to the sender. Unidirectional communication is done in simplex system where we just need to send a command or a signal and do not expect a response back. To give you an example, a simplex mode can be a loudspeaker, a television broadcast, a television and a remote, keyboard and monitor, etc. The diagram represents a simplex mode. In the next slide, we will talk about half duplex mode. Half duplex data transmission means that the data can be transmitted in both directions on a single carrier, but not at the same time. For example, a local area network or LAN using a technology that has half duplex transmission, one workstation can send the data on the line and then immediately receive the data on the same line from the same direction in which the data was just transmitted. Half duplex transmission implies of bidirectional line or one that can carry data in both the directions, but data can be sent in only one direction at a time. Example of half duplex is walkie-talkie transmissions, in which the message is sent one at a time, but messages are sent in both directions. The diagram depicts or explains what is half duplex. The next slide, we will talk about full duplex mode. In full duplex system, we can send data in both the direction as it is bidirectional at the same time. In other words, data can be sent in both directions simultaneously. To give you an example of full duplex, it's a telephone network in which there is a communication between two persons by a telephone line using both at the same time. Both of them can talk as well as listen. In full duplex system, there can be two lines, one for sending the data and the other for receiving the data. The diagram gives you an illustration about full duplex. Criteria for data communication network. The major criteria that a data communication network must meet are: first one is performance, second reliability, and security. Performance. It can be measured in many ways, including transmit time and response time. Performance is a measure of various factors such as amount of time required for a message to travel from one device to another, the time it requires to get a response starting from its inquiry. Performance of a network, however, also depends on number of factors such as number of active users, type of transmission medium, capability of connected hardware and efficiency of software, etc. Performance basically has three sub-characters, that is transit time, response time and throughput or the delay. Transit time or response time is basically considered as a measure for performance. In transit time, a message which is being transferred from the source to destination and the time required to fully transfer the message is called as a transit time in networking or in data communication. And simple or an easy example of sending a file from one user to another via Skype or any other medium shows the time to the is called as a transit time. Email attachment. Attachment is a good example. Whereas response time in data communication, it the elapsed time between end of an inquiry or demand of an system and beginning of the response. For example, the length of time between induction of the end of an inquiry and display of the first character of response is known as the response time, and the throughput or the delay is the, the time delay caused between the transit from start to end. This is called as throughput or a delay. Now let us try to differentiate what is transit time and what is response time. Transit time is the time a message takes to travel from source to destination, whereas the time between end of query to a computer system and beginning of response is called as the response time. To give you an example, time required to display the first characteristics of a response to a user terminal after the end of an query. The next one is reliability. As the name states, reliability is a measure in with respect to data communication. It is measured by frequency of failure, the time it takes a link to recover from failure, and the network's robustness. Network reliability is measured by frequency of failure, time it takes to recover from its failure. Whereas the third main criteria of data communication is security. Security issues include protecting data from unauthorized or malicious users, unauthorized access or viruses. Network must be secure. The data that is sent should reach its destination safely without any third party reading or altering or destroying the data in midway. These are the three important criteria for data communication. To sum up, the first one is performance, which has the transit time, response time, reliability, and the security. So, what is the difference between point-to-point communication and multi-point communication? Point-to-point communication means the channel is shared only between two devices, whereas in multi-point communication means the channel is shared between multiple devices or multiple nodes. In point-to-point communication, there is a dedicated link between two nodes, whereas in multi-point communication, the link is provided to all times for share the connection amongst different nodes. We have already discussed different types of transmission mode. Now we will try to understand different transmission technology in the network, that is broadcast, multicasting and unicasting. Broadcast. Here the traffic streams from a single point to all possible endpoints within its reach on the network, which is generally a LAN. This is the easiest technique to ensure traffic reaches its destination. This model is mainly utilized by television networks for video and audio distribution. Even if the television network is a cable television system, the source signal reaches all possible destinations, which is key reason that some channels content is scrambled. Broadcasting is not practicable on public internet due to massive amount of unnecessary data. Now let us try to understand what is multicast. In this method, the traffic reclines between the boundaries of unicast, one point to one destination, and broadcast, one point to all destinations. And multicast is one source to many destinations. So what is multicast? Multicast, it is one source to many specific destinations, way a traffic distribution, which means that only the destination that openly points to the request can accept, and the data will reach to that particular destination. On an IP network, destination, that is the client, do not regularly communicate straight to the sources, because the routers between the source and destination must be able to regulate the topology. Now let us try to understand what is unicast. Unicast traffic may stream an IP packet that moves across the network, flows from a single point, such as a website server, to a single point endpoint, such as a client PC. Through unicast transmission is a point-to-point. The same information may be passed from source node to any number of other nodes on the network in succession of one-to-one communication. A replica of each packet in the data stream goes to every host on the network that requests for it. Physical structure of a computer, or its, I can say it's a physical topology. Basically the topology is have been divided into four, that is mesh topology, star, bus, and a ring topology respectively. In the next slides we will discuss each of these topologies. Mesh topology is a type of networking where all nodes cooperate to distribute data amongst each other. This topology was originally developed around 30 plus years ago by military application, but today widely used. They are typically used for things like home automation or smart buildings, etc. Many mesh networks allows radios to spontaneously organize themselves by using something called as ad hoc on-demand distance vectoring. Mesh systems usually relies on a routing table which tells every node how to communicate with the access point, and how a node should direct traffic that is trying to go somewhere. The routing table assumes that there is no direct communication anywhere in the network except by the nodes that have a route to access the point. It is like a big game of telephone. If you don't know the route, then you will the message which you sent is totally out of route. Mesh network operates in two ways, either by routing of the data or by or flooding of the data. When you are routing a message in a mesh network, it propagates along the predefined path, hopping from nodes to nodes until it reaches its destination. In order to establish this route and to ensure that the paths are available, networks needs to be continuously connected and configuring itself. In other words, it has to continuously work to find the broken path and to create a self-healing algorithm. A simple mesh network takes a flood approach where data flows continuously throughout the network. If a module sees the data with its address, it simply grabs it. This works because of the time to live, or TTL, where TTL value which is assigned with each packet. Once the time to live expires, or once the allotted time expires, the packet is automatically discarded. Disadvantage The amount of cabling, the number of input-output devices perhaps increases the cost of the entire networking. Use of more number of devices increases complexity and complexity in installation, configuration, and the software maintenance. As discussed earlier, one of the best example is telephone regional exchange. The next type of topology is star topology. It is also called as uh, star network. In star topology, one of the most common network setup which is used. In this configuration, every node connects to the central network device like hub, switch, or computer as shown in the figure. The central network device acts as a server and the peripheral devices act as a client. In star topology setup, either a coaxial or an RJ45 network cable is used depending upon the type of network card installed in each of these computers. Advantages of star topology: central management of network through use of central computer hub or switches. Easy to add another computer to the network. In star topology, each device needs only one link, thus it is less expensive. If one computer on the network fails, the rest of the network continues to function normally. Fault identification also becomes easier, whereas the disadvantages are may have a higher cost to implement, especially when using a switch or a router as central network devices. The network topology is less robust because if one link fails, the device disconnected from the network. The central network device determines the performance and number of nodes it can handle. So these are few of the disadvantages of star topology. Bus topology. In bus topology, there is a main cable, and all the devices are connected to the main cable through a drop line, as shown in the figure. There is a device called tap that connects the drop line to the main cable. Since all the data is transmitted over the main cable, there is a limit of drop line and the distance of main cable can have. So what are the basic advantages of bus topology? It is an easy to installation. Each cable needs to be connected with a backbone cable. Less cable required than mesh and star topology. Whereas the disadvantages, it is difficult in fault detection. If there is a fault detection, it is difficult. It is not scalable as there is a limit on how many nodes can be connected to the backbone cables. A ring topology connects one host to next and the last host to the first one. In a ring topology, each device is connected with two devices on either of its sides. There are two dedicated point-to-point link a device has with the device on the other side of it. This structure forms a ring. Thus, it is known as a ring topology. If a device wants to send a data to another device, then it sends the data in one direction. Each device in the ring topology has a repeater. If the received data is intended for other devices, the repeater forwards this data until the intended device receives it. So this is nothing but a ring topology, and it's called as a ring topology as there is a kind of ring formation. For hybrid topology, we can choose the topology based on the requirement. Example, scalability. These are if it's a concern, we can use it with the requirements. Scalability is our concern, then we can use star topology instead of bus topology. Scalable has we can further connect other computer networks to the existing networks and different topologies. Uh, Disadvantage of a hybrid topology: fault detection might become difficult, installation is difficult, design is very complex in nature. So these are few of the topologies what we have discussed till now. We have spoken about bus topology, ring, star, extended star, hierarchy topology is the tree-like structure, and the mesh topology. Categories of network. Networks can be categorized into many sectors, but we will discuss only three most important ones. But if you would like to understand the categorization, list out the categorization of a network, we can have a personal area network, that is PAN, a LAN, that is a local area network, a wireless local area network, computer area network, metropolitan area network, wide area network, which we will discuss. We can have SAN, that is storage area network, or it is also called as system area network. We can have passive optical local area networks. We can have enterprise private networks, and so on. We will be discussing only three amongst all these networks, that is LAN, metropolitan area network, and wide area network. Local area network, also called as LAN, is used to connect computers in a single office or in a single campus. It is a collection of devices connected together on a physical location such as a building or an office or home. A LAN can be a small or a large, ranging from home networks with one user to an enterprise network with thousands of users and devices in a thousands of users or devices connected in an office. Regardless of the size, LAN's single defining characteristic is that it is connected. It connects devices that are in single limited area. A LAN comprises of cable, access point, switches, routers, and other component that enables devices to connect to internet servers, web servers, or any other type of servers. The rise of virtualization has also fueled to the development of virtual LANs, which enables network administration or a network administrator to logically group the network's nodes and partition their networks without a need of major infrastructural changes. One of the best examples for network virtualization would be an office with multiple departments such as accounting, IT support, administration, etc., where there is a logical separation between each of these teams. The diagram over here depicts a common cable, LAN, and a LAN connection through switches. So few benefits of LAN. The advantages of LANs are same as those for any group of devices network device network together. The device can use a single internet connection, share files with one another, print can be shared, printers can be accessed and even controlled by uh, one another. LAN was developed somewhere back in 1960s for use by colleges, universities, and research facilities such as NASA, primarily to connect computers to other computers. It wasn't until the development of Ethernet technology in 1973, its commercialization, which happened, and its standardization happened in 1983. So these are few benefits of LAN. There are different types of LAN as we have already discussed earlier. Wide area network, or also called as WAN. WAN is used to connect computers anywhere in the world. Wide area network is the largest network of information that is not tied to a single location. WANs can facilitate communication, the sharing of information, and much more between devices from around the world through a WAN provider. WAN can be vital for international businesses, but they are also essential for everyday use. And Internet is considered the world's largest WAN. Wide area networks are a form of telecommunication networks that can connect devices from multiple locations across the globe. WANs are the largest and most expensive form of computer network available till date. These networks are often established by service providers that they lease their WANs to the business, schools, government, or so on. If WAN connections didn't exist, the organization would be isolated to a restricted area or a specific geographical region. So, WAN connections or wide area networks plays a very crucial role. WAN examples are BSNL or Airtel or any other internet service provider. It also uses different networking devices such as switches, routers, modems, etc. Point-to-point WAN. A point-to-point WAN is a network that connects two communicating devices through a transmission medium as shown in the diagram below. Apart from point-to-point WAN networks, uh, there is another type of WAN network that is called a switched WAN. As the name indicates, switched WAN networks is used to connect multi-end nodes through a common WAN network. The end nodes connect the switched WAN network to either reach other nodes connected to the switch network or to connect to a public internet. What is internetwork? Internetworking is combined of two words. The first one is inter and networking, which implies an association between totally different nodes or segments. This connection area unit is established through devices, through routers, and through different gateways. The first term of associate degree internetwork was CATNet. The, in, the interconnection is often amongst or between public, private, commercial, industrial, and government networks connected by intermediate networking devices that functions as one giant network. Inter Internetworking refers to trade, products, or procedures that meets the challenges of making administrative networking in a layman's term. To enable communication, every individual network node or phase is designed with a similar protocol or a communication logic. That is, uh, that is like TCP, that is Transfer Control Protocol, or Internet Protocol, that is IP protocol. One Once a network communicates with another network having the constant communication procedure, it is called as internetworking. Internetworking was designed to resolve the matters of delivering a packet of information through many links. There are many differences between extending the network and internetworking. Merely exploitation of either a switch or a hub to and attached to two local area network is an extension of a LAN, whereas in a larger angle we call it as a internetworking. So here are the few parameters and comparison between local area network and wide area network. Uh, we will not get into this in depth, but this is for your reference and can be used. Switching or switching technique. In a large network, there can be multiple paths from sender to receiver. The switching technique will decide the best route for data transmission. Switching technique is used to connect the systems for making one-to-one communication. Classification of switching techniques can be done basically into three types, out of which two types will be discussed. The first one is circuit switching, and under circuit switching we have space division switches and time division switches. We have packet switching, which we have under which we have datagram approach and virtual circuit approach, and message switching. So we will be discussing about circuit switching and packet switching. So what is circuit switching? Circuit switching is a switching technique that establishes a dedicated path between the sender and the receiver. In the circuit switching technique, once the connection is established, then the dedicated path will remain to exit until the connection is terminated. Circuit switching is a network operates in a similar way to that of a telephone network. A complete end-to-end path must exist before communication starts or communication takes place. In case of circuit switching technique, when any user wants to send the data, voice, video, a request signal is sent to the receiver, then the receiver sends back an acknowledgement to ensure the availability of the dedicated path. After receiving the acknowledgement, the dedicated path transfer or the data the transfer between the sender and the receiver happens. Circuit switching is used in public telephone network. It is used for voice transmission also. Packet switching network. The packet switching is a switching technique in which message is sent in one go but is divided into small pieces and they are sent individually. The message split into smaller pieces known as packets, and the packets are given a unique number to identify their order at the receiving end. Every packet contains some information in its header such as source address, destination address and the sequence number. Packet will travel across the network taking the shortest path possible. All the packets are reassembled in the receiving end in a correct order. If any packet is missing or corrected, then the message will be sent to resend that particular packet or the message. If the correct order of the packet is reached, then acknowledgement message will be sent to the sender. There are two approaches for packet switching. One is datagram packet switching and the second one is virtual circuit switching. The internet today interconnects a large number of computers and networks throughout the world. There were about 1 million such computers in early 1993, 5 million in 1995, presently in 1997, sorry, it was 16 million and over 50 million by 1999. Internet has its origin in ARPANET network sponsored by US Department of Defense starting somewhere back in 1960s. The ARPANET was a datagram to store and forward networks that the Departments of Defense liked for its ability to reroute the packet around whenever there is a failure. These features makes the datagram network survivable. Another important objective of ARPANET was to enable interconnection of heterogeneous or different types of network. The technique the technique's success of internet is due to its large varieties of applications like emails, etc. that an IP can support. Internet can be accessed through dial-up services or DSL services. These are telephonic networks, using cable networks, using wireless networks, and direct connection to the internet also are possible. Internet standards and administration. Internet standards. It is a thoroughly tested specification that is useful to and adhered by all those who are working with the internet. It is a formalized regulation that must be followed by anyone who is using internet facilities. And specification begins as an internet draft. Internet draft. It is working document with a lifetime of 6 months and has no official status. An internet standard document, an internet standard is documented by RFC, that is to request for comment. A specification that is to become a standard or a part of standard begins as an internet draft and later, usually after several revisions, accepted and published by RFC editor, that is request for comment editor, and labeled as proposed standards. So a draft may be published by RFC upon recommendation from an internet authority. RFC are edited, numbered, and made available to all interested parties, those who are using internet. RFC goes through a maturity, different levels of maturity. Maturity level of RFC. Now RFC has proposed standards, draft standard, internet standard, historic and experimental, followed by informational standards. Let us look at each of these phase one by one. Proposed standard. It is a specification that is stable, well understood, and of sufficient interest to all those who are using internet, or we can also call them as internet community. Once the proposed standard is prepared, then the proposed standard is elevated to a draft standard after at least 2 successful independent reviews and implementation. A draft standard normally is then becomes internet standard. Internet standard, a draft standard reaches internet standard status after demonstration of successful implementation. Now what is this historic? This RFC are significant from historic perspective. Any of the above standards, for example, proposed standard or draft standard or internet standard fails, it automatically becomes a historic representation. So the first one is a proposed standard followed by draft standard. After 6 months it becomes a draft standard and then it becomes an internet standard. Experimental standards. An RFC classified as experimental describes work related to an experimental situation that does not affect the operation of internet. And the last one is informational. This RFC continues general, historical and tutorial information related to internet. So initially we start with an proposed internet draft. We go to the proposed standard, draft standard, proposed standard to draft standard takes almost 6 months, and draft standard to internet standard takes almost 4 months. So this is about the maturity levels of RFC. So what is Internet Society? An international non-profitable organization, ISOC, formed to provide support for internet standard process accomplishing its goal by maintaining and supporting other internet administrative bodies such as IAB, IETF, IRTF and IANA. It also promotes research and other activities relating to internet. The next one is the Architectural Board or Internet Architectural Board, the technical advisor to the Internet Society, that is ISOC, that is Internet Architecture Board. The main purpose is to oversee the continuing development of TCP/IP protocol suite, and to serve its technical advisor capacity to research member of Internet community, which is accomplished by its two components, that is task force, Internet Engineering Task Force, or the Internet Research Task Force. So in short, IAB is an advisory committee for Internet Society, as well as it gives inputs to the engineering task force as well as the research task force, Internet Research Task Force. Now let us look at Internet Engineering Task Force. It is managed by Internet Engineering Steering Group, that is IESG, as seen in the diagram. The IETF is a forum of working group responsible for identifying operational problems, proposing solutions to them, and developing and reviewing specific intended Internet standards. The groups are collected into areas like application, routing, security, protocol, and network management, and each area concentrated on specific topic and for specific purpose only. The next one is Internet Research Task Force, managed by IRST, that is Internet Research Steering Group. The IRTF is a forum of working group focusing on long-term research topics related to Internet protocols, its technologies, applications, and architectural levels.
So in this particular video, we have spoken about data communication, components, the way data is represented, network, its criterias, network type like local area network, wide area networks, and so on. A brief history about internet and its standards and administrations. Thank you.